Hello, welcome to Fat Cat Maths. This video is part of my exam walkthrough edition. We're going to be looking at past paper questions for completing the square. Pause the video here and give this 3-mark question a go. In this question, it's not immediately clear that they're asking you to complete the square, but at the beginning we see a quadratic, and after the equal sign we can see a set of brackets squared. So that should get you thinking about the completing the square method. Another thing to note here is that the x squared is a minus, and that doesn't make it very easy for us. We can change the sign of one term if we change the sign for everything else. Essentially, we're just timesing everything by a -1. First step is always to make it as easy as possible for yourself, so we're going to rewrite that quadratic equation in the more familiarised form. So I'll have my x squared at the beginning, my number x in the middle, and then my number at the end. Next, I start my completing the square process. I have a set of brackets with x minus half of the middle term, so x minus 3, and that set of brackets is going to be squared. Next, I want to square the number that I just wrote down, so 3 times 3 is 9, and I'm going to take that away. And then we add in whatever is left, so I've got a +7 that I'm going to put at the end. Next I'm going to simplify, so a -9 add a 7 is -2, so I'm going to rewrite my equation with that. Our answer looks very similar to the format that the examiners have asked for, but it's not quite there yet. In our answer, the negative is associated with the number 2. In the question, the negative is associated with the set of brackets. So if I times both of these terms by -1, then I can reverse both signs. So now I have 2 minus x minus 3 in brackets squared. And if we look at the question, this is exactly the same as what the examiners have asked for, where p would equal 2 and q would equal -3. Pause the video again and give this one a go. In this question, we've specifically been asked to complete the square, which makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to start by writing out my equation, getting a set of brackets with an x and half the middle term, and then I'm going to square that set of brackets. Next, you want to square that 5 to get 25 and take it away, and then add in whatever's left. So I've got a -3 equals 0 that I'm going to put at the end. When I simplify that, a -25 take away another 3 is -28. And now I can start to solve, so I'm going to put the -28 on the other side of the equals to make it a +28. Now I'm going to square root each side, so on the left I have an x plus 5, and on the right, remember you have to have a plus or a minus the square root of 28. To carry on with the method, we need x on its own, so I'm going to move the 5 onto the other side by changing its sign and making it a -5. So now if we look at the answer, we've got it in the format that they've asked for, where p is our -5 and 28 is q. Okay, so for this one we have a quadratic at the beginning and a set of brackets squared, so again we should be thinking completing the square. So to do that, I'm going to put a set of brackets with an x and half of the middle term. The middle term is +14, so I'm going to put a +7, and I'm going to square that set of brackets. Next, we want to square whatever number we just wrote down, so 7 times 7 is 49. We take that away and then add in whatever is left on our equation, so we've got a -9. Next, I'll simplify that, so a -49 minus 9 is -58. And even though in the completing the square method we could go a bit further, we've already got it in the format that the examiners have asked for. A is 7 and B is -58. This question had a part B, so pause the video again and see if you can work out the turning point. So remember to find the x coordinate, we change the sign of whatever is in the brackets with the x, so the x coordinate will be -7. And the y coordinate is whatever is on the end, so y will be minus 58. Okay, time to pause the video again and give this question a go. This question is slightly different because there is a 2 in front of the x squared instead of the normal 1. We've got a quadratic at the beginning and we've got a set of brackets squared, so we know that we have to complete the square. The first thing that we need to do to make this work is essentially get rid of the 2. We can do that by rearranging our original equation. If I divide those first 2 terms by 2, I get x squared minus 6x. I can put those terms in a set of brackets with a 2 on the outside. That means that when I go to expand it out, I will get the exact same thing, so I'm not changing our equation, I'm just rearranging it. We haven't halved the 17, primarily because we can't without making this a lot trickier, so I'm going to put it on the outside. Next, we complete the square as normal, but just with a 2 and an additional set of brackets. So focusing on our normal completing the square method, I would want to get a set of brackets and half the middle term. Half of minus 6 is minus 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so I'm going to take away 9. Then we add in whatever is left, so I'm going to add in 17. At this point, we can simplify things a bit. We don't want to times that 2 by the x or the minus 3 squared yet, but we can times it by the minus 9, just to give us 2 numbers at the end, and then things will simplify out a lot quicker. If we times the 2 by the minus 9, we get minus 18. So now we have a 2 bracket x minus 3 close bracket squared, minus the 18 from that 2 minus 9, and then add 17. So minus 18 plus 17 is minus 1. Then if we look back at our question, we can see that the format that the examiners have asked for is where we've got it to now. Again, there was a part B to this question, so pause the video and see if you can figure out what the turning point coordinates would be. So just as normal, we can find what x is by reversing the sign of whatever is in the brackets. So minus 3 is going to change to a positive 3. That's going to be my x. And y is whatever number is on the end, so y is minus 1. This question looks really intimidating and it's worth 6 marks, so that makes it even scarier. But if you look at what they're actually asking you to do, it's exactly the same as before, just different wording. They want you to find the coordinates of M, P, Q, and R. Essentially, they're asking you to find the coordinates of the turning point, which we know we can do by completing the square. P and Q are the points at which that curve goes through the x-axis. So here we would be solving that quadratic to find our 2x values. Lastly, if we look at R, they are asking us to find the Y-intercept. Just like with a straight line graph, you can find out where this Y-intercept is by looking at the number at the end of your quadratic equation. So let's start our process of completing the square. So firstly, we get a set of brackets, put an x and half of the middle term. So our middle term is minus 4, meaning that in the brackets we have x minus 2 and then all of that squared. Next, we square the number we've just written down, so 2 times 2 is 4. We take that away and then we add in whatever is left. We've still got a minus 5 to add to the end, so I'm going to put that in now. At this point we can simplify. Minus 4 minus 5 is minus 9. And at this point we can pause for a second, because it's at this point that we can get the turning point coordinates. If we change the sign of minus 2, we'll have our x coordinate, so x is going to be 2, and y is going to be minus 9, so those are the coordinates for M. Next we're going to move on to solving the quadratic so that I can get P and Q. To do that, I need to make what I've done so far equal to 0, just like you would with any quadratic. I'm going to move the -9 over to the other side of the equals to make it a +9. And then I need to square root both sides. So the square root of x minus 2 all squared is just going to be x minus 2. And the square root of 9 is 3. Remember, we need to have a plus or a -3. To solve x, I need to move the -2 to the other side of the equals to make it a +2. So that means that either x equals 2 add 3, or x equals 2 minus 3. Remember that when we solve, these are the points at where y equals 0. So my coordinates for p and q would be 5, 0 and -1, 0. Then lastly, to find r, which is the point where it goes through the y-axis, I'm going to look at my original equation and take the number right at the end. That -5 is going to be my y-coordinate, and x will be 0 because we're going up and down on the y-axis. So the coordinate for r would be 0, -5. Okay, and that is the end of the video. Well done for getting this far. Thank you so much for your time. Please hit that subscribe button and I will see you next week. Good luck with the rest of your revision.